I'm going to be summarizing something. So last year in our class, we read the book by April Sinclair, and what it was about basically was talking with black. And basically what it was about was a young African-American girl named Stevie growing up in 1960 Chicago, trying to find herself and shape who she wanted to be in life with the influences of like her friends and her mother and her loved ones hanging over her, and how she was able to break away from the stereotypes and the expectations that they wanted for her and become her own person.
Cool. Okay, so we tossed around different ways to handle this next part, but we thought the best way would actually be to just do it as a fishbowl. So if I need to get Sintia. Oh, there's an empty desk right here. Can I have you sit, please, right in that desk? Cynthia, you want to come sit up quick over here? So these are the resources that we can use as they come up. Okay. So Cynthia, why was Coffee Make You Laugh? This story, this young African American girl. What were some of the themes in that story that became important for us?
Some of the themes were oppression and liberation. Those were like the main ones. Also, we investigated how prescription fits into it, which is like a theory by theorist Paulo Freire. Another theme, I guess, would be I don't know, not peer pressure, but oppression.
Oh.
Yeah. So we had to like find ways to like compare what we learned from theorists that we were investigating in the classroom and apply it to the book that we were reading. It was Coffee Will Make You Black as Kavina was explaining.
So you brought up one key point, like the peer pressure versus oppression. There were a lot of examples of peer pressure. Can somebody just talk about what were some of the examples of peer pressure that Stevie faced? I don't want to call on you. Just be all the step up, step back, right? So just kind of pay attention to who's speaking, and if you're too quiet for too long, please step up in the conversation, okay? You want to go on? What were the examples of peer pressure?
Peer pressure was when her friends was trying to get her like, Yusuf was trying to get her like, this boy named Yusuf was trying to get her like pee with her, which was I guess that was cool then, but it's not now.
Just say all now, it's no longer cool.
So he wanted to get her to pee with her, and like he was pressuring her to keep trying to get her to do it, but it didn't happen. Well, this boy kind of intervened in it, so it was like peer pressure, trying to make her do it because she was supposed to be a girl, and that's what they did, and that's what you're supposed to do because you're a girl.
Cool. So how did that peer pressure start to look more like a gender-based oppression? What was going on in that process that was more than peer pressure?
The expectations that were being put on her, even in that small little situation, was, like she was saying, it was because she was a girl. And so it was like apparent that, oh, you're a girl, you do this, I'm a guy, I'm going to do something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do it because you're a girl.
And so you dropped the word prescription earlier, and what you're talking about is things that you have to do because of your gender. Can we talk about the Freire quote? When you guys read, if you haven't memorized the quote, I don't know, memorize it.
This is a quote from Paulo Freire from his book Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and it reads, "Every prescription represents the imposition of one man's choice upon another, transforming the consciousness of the man prescribed into one that conforms with the prescriber's consciousness."
Can you guys start to break that down? I also have a visual for you too. Go for it. Let's go back. We're gonna put it. We're in a circle. It's like hard to find this where and everybody can see it.
How about just on the floor, because we can all
Okay.
Basically, the idea of prescription is
presented in my little portfolio presentation to kind of move up to the next grade, I kind of presented it as like a doctor's prescription. So a doctor tells you kind of what to do, and you have the choice to do it or whether or not to do it. But the difference between prescription is that it's such a pressure that makes you have to do it, and you think that it's like the only way that you have to do it. Does that make sense? Kind of?
So Freire talks about, in the quote, every prescription represents the imposition of one man's choice upon another, right? So what you're saying, like there's a choice of what you can do, when you can do it, but he also says that it transforms the consciousness of the person prescribed. What does that part mean about the consciousness? What do you think's going on there?
Okay, well, related to my 7th period class, we were reading an article and it said, everything said in Washington 3 times becomes a fact. So what I would say with prescription is that, you know, if someone is telling you something constantly and like you start saying like, oh yeah, you know, you're right, you start like, you know, submerging yourself into it, right? You start believing it. Later on, like for example, if you go to the gym, right, people tell you need to work out, then you like really enjoy going to the gym, so you go to the gym more often. Then you go to the gym every single day after work, and it's because you're used to it. Because if someone told you from the beginning, but you don't even remember that. You just go to the gym because you're so used to it. So there's prescription right there. You get so used to something that you don't even recognize, like, you know, the roots of it. Like someone told you to go to the gym, that's why you go to the gym now. But if no one would have told you that, it wouldn't have become so regular that you do it without having the consciousness that it was because someone else was pushing you towards it.
So what were some of the decisions that, what were some of the things that Stevie struggles with in the beginning of like what she's being prescribed that she doesn't understand yet at the beginning of the story? You remember some of the things that she expects for herself, or how she acts, or what she does, what are being prescribed? What about with her friend who's in that charisma group?
I forgot her name, but I remember so the girl was her best friend, and then she moved away. And she came back, and basically she was like a whole nother person. Like she was very structured and very like sophisticated, and she had permed hair. And she told Stevie that Stevie should perm her hair because I guess they thought that straight hair looked better. And at one point, they, like the girl and her group of friends, planned to make fun of another girl who wore her hair naturally because they thought it wasn't attractive to wear and something else was her mom at one point in the book brought Stevie bleaching cream to bleach her skin to make it look lighter, and that was her mom's prescription, that lighter skin was more beautiful and it was better than dark skin. And Stevie, she didn't believe that, so she wasn't letting her mother prescribe her anybody for this kind of her. She wanted to be who she was, like.
Did she want to in the beginning of the story?
Nah. I think she did, but not totally.
What do people think? Did Stevie know how did Stevie figure out who she wanted to be?
It like was gradually building because there were some things like for the interior monologue in the book when you're actually hearing what she thinks about everything that she's being told. There are some things she might say that where it'll tell you that she doesn't always agree or like what she's doing, but she's doing it because she feels like that's what she has to do, that that's what she's supposed to do. And over time throughout the book, she starts to break out of that, you know, but until the end where she's like, okay, I don't care anymore, I just want to be myself.
Roger, can you talk a little bit about, so she keeps getting all these messages about how she should be in terms of her skin or her hair or dating boys. Can you explain that sort of with like a Freirean explanation using these three places, oppressor, sub-oppressor, oppressor?
So, then a circle surrounds, so I don't see if I know there's a few people in back. And basically, at the top of the triangle, we have someone who is known as the oppressor, the one who holds you down at the bottom of the pyramid, telling you what to do from his general idea to how you should be. And a sub-oppressor would be someone who is, in a way, the oppressor, but is somehow related to the oppressed. So one form of a sub-oppressor would be if you have a Hispanic community and one of the higher authorities is a Hispanic cop going against his own community, and just because he has a prescription from the oppressor that they are bad, they are not wanted, or either they are not important or relevant to these two main groups.
So who plays the role of sub-oppressors in this story? Can you talk about that?
I feel like it was mostly Stevie's friend Carla and her mom, but mostly Carla because in the beginning of the book, Carla and Stevie weren't even friends. Like, they got into a fight because Stevie had these two friends who told Stevie that Carla was talking about Stevie's mom, but they told Carla that Stevie was talking about her mom, when neither one was talking about either person's mom. And then they fought because Stevie didn't want to fight, but it was expected of her, like, the girls' names were Denise and somebody else. Yeah. And they came over to Stevie's house and like told her that she had to fight Carla to defend her mother's honor. Like, they were basically saying that if Stevie didn't fight, she didn't really care what anybody said about her mother. Like, she was